All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. Have the Sunday slate here for you guys, and we already have a lot of kind of significant injuries in terms of the main slate, in terms of some big names being out. So, initially, kind of, what are your thoughts on the slate?
Yeah, man, looks like a pretty fun slate. I believe, only 5 games here, so definitely a smaller slate, but lots of ways we can go. It seems like the most of the ownership is condensed on this Charlotte game, so definitely interesting in terms of tournaments to talk about here.
Yeah, and so we can start with Charlotte in general. So, um, we have somewhat
Oh, we
significant
lost
news.
your.
That's all right. We have somewhat significant news here with um, Nick Richards being out. Um, I thought he was confirmed out. Yeah, so he's out, right? This is just not updated just yet.
Yeah, he got rolled out 20 minutes ago. Yep,
Okay.
he's out.
So Cody Martin's out as well. Seth Curry's out, and then Mark Williams is out as well. So that's why the ownership is going to be highly concentrated, like it is. So, what are
Mhm.
your initial thoughts here? Because Grant Williams is someone that sticks out like a value play, and I'm surprised he's not more chalk. But you got Miocic there, and I didn't say that right, but it does seem like we do have some plays to get to for Charlotte.
Yeah, man. I think that the Nick Richards news is massive because we should see Grant Williams slide to the 5 here, and he's been a pretty solid value play the past couple slates. So I really like him, especially if he's going to be kind of low owned here.
Mhm.
So I think he's like the biggest beneficiary of this news.
And then what about like Davis Bertans as well as like another big there who has been playing pretty well for them in limited minutes. I feel like if he gets a little bit extra run today, like we haven't projected to get 20, like if he does get those minutes, to me, that's pretty interesting as a play at that price tag.
Yeah, man, I like that call as well. You're going to see there's just a ton of great plays here in this game.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely in consideration for sure.
So this kind of feels like the opposite of Memphis yesterday, where Memphis was extremely loaded chalk wise, and I just was not comfortable really playing anyone really besides a little bit of Vince Williams and Jake LaRiva, who sucked. Um, but like for Charlotte today, it feels like I could honestly play all of them, or make a case for playing all these guys here. I don't know. Is that where you're at, or kind of what are your thoughts in general for Charlotte? Is it going to be like a max type night, or are you maybe worried about some of the chalk?
Yeah, so I think I'm right there with you. I would probably not go more than like 3 or 4. 4 probably
Yeah.
tops for me. Just there's a ton of great tournament plays as well on the slate, so I'd say 3 to 4, no more than that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair. And then we also have some news with Toronto. Okay, so we got Scotty Barnes going to be out for this game. And with that, we also know that Bruce Brown is still out or is out, and then Marquise Noel could play, but I don't think we're really too worried about that. Looking at the minutes projection, quickly is projected at 35. He's like the biggest minutes type of guy. Um, are you getting to anyone here for Toronto?
Yeah, man, I actually really like the front court here with guys like Olynyk and Pirtle. It's kind of just been a constant theme here with bigs against Charlotte for the past like 3 years now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love both these guys, man. Especially Olynyk. He's a very good fantasy producer. So as long as he starts here, I really like him as well.
I will say his price starting to come up does worry me a little bit, but the upside's undeniable there for Kelly Olynyk. He could certainly go for 40 or even 30 at that price. They can certainly outproduce it. Um, if it, I mean, he's 55% owned right now. If that comes up higher than that, and I doubt it will, but if it did, I would probably want to be underweight and just go with Yakumperto a little bit more. Um, but at the same time, I don't think it's like bad chalk by any means.
Yeah, right there with you. I think where he's at right now is probably appropriate where he should be in terms of
Yeah.
ownership. So
And then I will say, like, quickly as well, to me, seems like a really good play today. I don't really get the lack of love for him right now. 15% owned, I would imagine that's going to come up. He's someone that should get a massive bump in usage. And then actually with Bruce Brown being out, maybe it's going to be a little bit more of a run for Grady Dick, who has played well for them, projected at 25 minutes. If that goes up to 28 at this price tag of 4.4, he is someone I think I could get to. The issue is I don't know if we're going to exactly need to get there, but he has been pretty productive on a points per minute basis recently.
yeah, man, I love that call with Grady Dick. This is the guy that can just score the ball. He kind of does everything for them off the bench. So I love that as a low on shot there. And then Gary Trent as well. I think Gary Trent should get a slight bump here with no Bruce Brown as well.
Yeah, Gary Trent's been gaining a lot of minutes, hasn't been terrible. But we need a slight uptick in usage. But he has been averaging like over 10 shot attempts per game since the All Star break. So I do think there's something with that as well.
Yeah, agreed.
And then we also have some more kind of injury spots as well. It's kind of a loaded slate in terms of somewhat significant injury news. But the biggest one that we have is going to be that Devin Booker is out for Phoenix. So that's going to be the later game. And so looking at it right now, what are your kind of initial thoughts? Because we got Bradley Beal back in this game, or sorry, he's good to go in this game. It seems like you got Eric Gordon, who seems to be good to go in this game as well. Looking at the ownership, Yusuf Nurk's the only one pulling in some ownership. Or is there anyone you want to get to here with that Devin Booker news?
Yeah, so I actually really like Kevin Durant here in tournaments. 9,700 with no Booker. I think it's too cheap for him. So I love getting to Katie here in tournaments. And then guys like Beal and Nurkic, I think are both good as well. I think they're both like around 6,800. Yeah, Beal's
Mhm.
67. So fine with both those guys, but I really like Katie here in the spot.
Yeah, so I'm actually curious about Bradley Beal because we haven't projected at 29 minutes, and if that does happen, I feel like he is at a great price. I don't want to say it's a great matchup, but like the production should be there for him as well. I don't know. Is that a situation where we just don't know the minutes for him? Like coming back off of, kind of being slightly injured, coming in off of a back to back 20 minutes last game. Is that just kind of the issue with Bradley Beal tonight?
Yeah, I kind of agree. The minutes are kind of uncertain, and he's pretty elevated price. He has a pretty elevated price
Yeah.
point. So those two, I think, probably will ship people off him.
Yeah. So I do agree. I think that makes for a fine GPP play. And then yeah, Kevin Durant is probably the play I would want to get to the most there as well. And then any other injury spots that you wanted to touch on? I know we got kind of a limited in terms of like players being listed out, but we have Donovan Mitchell still questionable. Um, all the same people for New York are still out.
Yeah, trying to just take a peep here. Levert's questionable. You mentioned, yeah,
Yep.
Mitchell questionable. I think that's it though, for the most part.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Then let's
so
see
just
here.
monitor
So
them.
yeah, we got some questions rolling in here. It seems like more interest in Raps over Hornets.
That's so
Yes
tough.
and no. I mean, it's. I don't think you can be wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think both sides are really good. It's tough to say one team in particular.
And this is where everyone's going to be gaining a lot of ownership tonight as well. Just like I would imagine most lines on DraftKings specifically are going to have at least 5 players from this game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is crazy, right? Five
yeah,
game slate condensed on one game.
I know. So we got Jose saying who should he concentrate on? Yeah, probably these plays, honestly, in this
Yeah,
game. So
definitely.
top value plays. Let's see here. That's it's always fun. I already saw a couple of them popping up actually. Yeah, Gary Trent was one of them. Kelly Olynyk, another one. So yeah, though I mean, it's a pretty solid slate for Yahoo there today. And then so here's a good question: Stewart or Grant Williams? It's kind of an interesting one there.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good question. I'd probably say Grant Williams. I'm not really on Stewart today. How about you?
Um, the matchup with Orlando is definitely concerning there, but Stewart is pretty cheap, so I think you could kind of make both work somewhat. But yeah, in a vacuum, I would say just Grant Williams makes more sense. Um, let's see
Yeah,
what the data says for that as well. I'm actually curious here. So Stewart value 10.7. So yeah, he's not going to grade out well today, just because he's going against Orlando. But Grant Williams not exactly grade out that well either. So definitely interesting there.
yeah, definitely.
Let's see here. So Grady Dick or Isaac Okoro there. I don't know. I like Grady Dick, but I've kind of been on him a decent amount recently, so I'm probably a little bit biased. I don't know. Do you like Okoro tonight? I guess that's the biggest question we should ask.
I'm not typically very high in Okoro, but if Levert were to sit, I think Okoro would look a little bit better. So I think it's kind of dependent on Levert's news for that decision for me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a good call because Donovan Mitchell being out as well would
Mhm.
shift some roles as well. So yeah, we're still waiting on that. But yeah, as it sits right now, I would say Gray Dick, but I didn't realize how well Okoro really had been producing lately. Very consistent producer, and that price tag definitely is intriguing.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so Beal got ejected last night. That's right. That's right. Didn't like Kevin Durant said he didn't even know that he got ejected, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, good call out though. Um, let's see here. So honestly, with that, like, kind of makes me like Beal a little bit better tonight, really.
Yeah, man, especially no Booker, like, you gotta imagine he's probably gonna bring the ball up a lot more than he usually does, so
Mhm. So here's an interesting question. What's the value plays that are under the radar? See, today I don't know if we really need to
yeah.
do that. Honestly, I feel like the value plays that we are getting are kind of straightforward, and they're going to be good value plays that we could kind of feel confident playing today. Um, Sorted by the DK main slate here. Like, everyone is properly owned here. You know, we don't always get that in terms of ownership. Like yesterday, Royce O'Neal popping up. He's low owned again, and Gary Trent. This will probably change. He's kind of low owned right now. I mean, there's some spots, but I just don't know if we need to get that cute.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's like we have so many good value plays from, like, honestly, the Charlotte game and then even like the San Antonio game. I think you could get weird in some value spots. So I don't know if we need to get like super cute today. I agree.
Yeah. Can you play Bertans and Grant Williams together? I would say yes. What about you? I could see the thought of not doing it though too.
I think you can, right? Just because they're depleted at center. So I think, yeah, I think it's fine.
Bridges, he could play a little bit of center tonight,
Yeah.
but I still think Bertans will get his run. I still think Grant Williams will get his run.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Bridges at the 5 too. He's a very good producer at the 5 as well. So
Honestly, his price doesn't feel up enough given the matchup with Toronto. Like this, these are two teams that we've been trying to target for the past like 2 months now, or Charlotte pretty much the whole season. Toronto more
yeah,
recently, so it's definitely appealing there. That kind of leads us in. So we're getting a lot of Cleveland questions. So we got Strucer Trent. They've got Sam Merle as a question as well. So let's just touch on Cleveland in general. We kind of glanced over that. So
yeah,
I imagine we're getting all these questions because of the kind of questionable status of Donovan Mitchell and then Karis LeVert. So Mitchell is more likely to sit than LeVert. I think we can kind of just assume that Mitchell's going to sit. So with that, we don't have him projected for minutes as well. So with that, a lot of people are wondering about Sam Merle as a potential punt play. Um, and then obviously we got Struce there, who okay, but
yeah.
those two players, I don't know about you, but I feel like they're more dependent on if Levert sits or not. Like, do you agree with that, or kind of where are you at with that? Like, how do those plays change if Levert's in or is out?
Yeah, so I'm right there with you with Struce and Merrill. I think, if Levert sits, both these guys become solid value plays. I think Struce is almost at the 6K now though, so
Mm-hmm.
he's kind of pricey. And then obviously, if both Mitchell and Levert sit, then I think Merrill would become a really really good play. So in tournaments, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just kind of monitor that news and build accordingly.
Yeah, we saw him in the last game get 25 minutes. Very solid there. I think he's a fine play. To me, honestly, if we get that news, is probably just looking at both Mobley and Jared Allen again. Both of them had pretty good games last game. Now, it was a great matchup going against Detroit. It's going to be a much more difficult matchup against New York today, but like they feel too cheap. Like they both should be able to hit value. I don't know about exceeding value for both of them. Like we typically see that they don't correlate together too much. Like if one of them has a ceiling, the other one probably doesn't. But I still feel like those two would be in play. And then what are your thoughts on like Garland, because he did get a price bump. He actually had a terrible first quarter and then picked it up after that. Is he someone you'd be wanting to get to then as well?
Yeah, I think, Garland, I still think he's a little bit too cheap if Mitchell sits. I think he should be around this 8K range, and I feel like he's like 1,000 too cheap. So I would love Garland if Mitchell's hot. And then I agree. I think Mobley and Allen are still too cheap as well. So would like all three of those guys for Cleveland if Mitchell's hot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of like the Coral crawl. I'm not gonna lie. Let's see here. So let's go ahead and jump into the guard plays that we are getting just in general today. So looking at right now, obviously we had that extreme value in Trey Jones popping up in there as well. You kind of teased the Sacramento plays in general. So I don't know, was it more the guards for you with Sacramento or just in general? But I'll let you take the guards here.
Yeah, so for San Antonio, I think Trey Jones and Vassell, both really good tournament plays. Trey Jones typically safer for around 25 to 30. Vassell's the one that can really get it going. He
Mhm.
can score in a hurry. He's got a couple of games of north of 45 DraftKings points. So I think both of them elite spots against Indiana here. So what do you think about these two, though?
Um, yeah, I think they're good, especially going against Indy. I love the minutes that Vassell has been getting lately since the All-Star break, and we have seen that ceiling. You could argue that he's a little bit too cheap, honestly, for this game. Like you look at Garland, you look at Vassell. Those are two players that people aren't typically ready to play at these price tags because they're obviously starting to get up there. But I feel comfortable playing both of them,
Yeah.
and Trey Jones as well. I feel like he's a fine for a safe play. He feels like a safe play tonight going against the Pacers.
Yeah, I agree, man. Just a great spot for these two against Indiana. So, yeah.
And then kind of looking at the other guard plays that we have, Halliburton, in that same game, kind of the best guard play besides SGA as he typically is, and then Jalen Brunson. But yeah, I think this really shows us just how strong of a play Vassell is. And then Emmanuel Quickly, who we touched on earlier, really popping up there. Garland popping up in there. So it kind of seems like a slate where we could end up on maybe four, maybe potentially five guards in some situations where maybe Brandon Miller, RJ Barrett are small forwards that you could play. Struce, maybe. I don't know, where are you at with like the other guard plays that we have here.
Yeah, man, I like that Hallie Cole because he's been very, very bad. But if there's ever a get right spot for Halpern, you got to imagine it's against the Spurs here. So I love him in tournaments as well. Him and Katie are kind of my two low on shots in tournaments as like true spend ups. And then, yeah, in terms of the rest of Indiana, like Matherin had that huge game. He's kind of cooled
Mhm.
off a little bit though. Yeah, it's tough to really get to anyone after Hallie, I guess, on Indiana for me. Maybe some Turner, but that's not a guard.
Yeah.
We'll get into him later.
Yeah, I would say Matherin kind of struggled simply because everyone was back healthy now. Like Aaron Naismith was back,
Yeah.
recently. So I think that just really cuts into his role. Uh, but definitely something I think to monitor if that happens again. Um, I haven't really been able to get to. I've kind of just been eating the chalk at the guard positions. I don't feel the need to get too crazy with it. The only play that I'm really going on my way to target is Grady Dick. He's like the only one that isn't extremely chalk that I like. But looking at the chalk, I don't know. Can you poke any holes into any of the chalk that we have? I mean, maybe Cole Anthony at 13%, but I kind of get that as well.
Yeah, I don't know about Cole Anthony. It's a fine matchup for him, but that does seem like questionable chalk. TJ McConnell he was projecting for 15. Now it's
Yeah,
only 10. I don't know if we really need to play McConnell.
yeah,
Um, anyone else? Let's see. Everyone else seems pretty reasonable.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do wonder if Gary Trent's will come up a little bit. His ownership that'd be the one that I think might seem a little bit too low, 5% right now, and then Grady Dick as well. I feel like both of those should be a little bit higher owned.
Yeah. No, I agree with both those calls. I like those a lot.
So let's get back into a question. We got a guard question here, actually. So Trey Mann or Trey Jones? That is the question. I would say Mann, but what about you?
Oh, man, that's so close. I think both are in great spots. I would go with Maine, but it's barely for me. I like both
Yeah,
those cards a lot.
yeah, I think that's fair. Um, with that, we'll go ahead and jump into the forwards here that we have. So, looking at the top forward plays that we have, it's going to be Tatum, Wemby, Kevin Durant, and like you. Oh, sorry. Let me do this real quick. Sorry. Wemby, Kevin Durant, Siakam, Banchero, Miles Bridges, who we kind of mentioned. He's pulling in as chalk. Wagner. What are your initial thoughts on the top pay up forwards?
Yeah, man. Wemby here, like he's just been so so good, and you couldn't really drop a better spot for Wemby against Indiana. So if you're spending up all the way, he's probably the safest option. I mean, just look at his game logs; he's been incredible. Didn't he like get like the most blocks in like a month or something, like last month or something? It's been insane.
I
He's
believe
incredible
that.
though. Yeah. So I think he's good up top. And then I mentioned Kevin Durant. 9,700 just seems too cheap. So I agree with the model for those guys.
I will say, given the news that we got, I haven't been like I don't think I'll be able to get to them as much, and I'm not saying that that's correct at all. It's probably
Yeah.
wrong, but I like Bridges, I like Mobley, I like getting to Kelly Olynyk now, probably some more Brandon Miller, um, and then Grant Williams and Bertans. But like, it doesn't feel good. It really doesn't, because like KD and Wemby are probably both going to go off for 50 plus tonight. Like I don't think that's an exaggeration.
Yeah, like forward is loaded today. Like I feel like down the board, it's just loaded. So tons of great ways you go.
Yeah, I'm like looking at the chalk, it's a little bit different than like the guards. I feel like because the guards, it's kind of like I don't know. I feel like we're almost being forced into playing some of those guys where, like I just kind of mentioned, you could make a case for Wemby, you could make a case for Kevin Durant, you could make a case for going with Mobley, you could make a case for going Bridges, Miller, Grant, Olynyk. Like you could talk yourself into certain plays a little bit more. Now, if you're max entering, that doesn't really matter. You're just going to have your exposures to them. But if you're doing 20 lineups, 10 lineups, 5 lineups, these are the small little weird decisions that you have to make. And I don't know, maybe Mobley will be my make or break point tonight because I feel like he's a little bit too low owned.
Yeah, I like that call a lot. And New York, like they're typically not known as the best defense. I think Cleveland should be in a pretty decent spot. So Garland, Mobley, and even Allen. I think if Mitchell sits, all great mid tier plays.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I do want to take a peek at the value rating. So Keldon Johnson popping up as the best value. Not someone I really thought about, to be honest with you, on the slate, but that's going to be tough to ignore. He's only 17% projected own on DraftKings. So I don't know if is he someone you're getting to projected at around 30 minutes?
Yeah, so I don't know. A lot of people have been fond of him off the bench. I just don't love playing bench players that are priced up pricey. I mean, it's a good matchup for sure, but I think I'll look to other spots today. It is a good price, good matchup, but I don't like it. What do you think
Yeah.
though?
I get it. I get it. I don't know. I just,
Mhm.
like I said, he wasn't someone that I really was thinking about on the slate. And now with like, again, Grant Williams, I would rather just go with him or even go with Bertans, who's a little bit cheaper. It might be a little bit too like narrow minded already on the slate, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I don't blame you, man. I'm right on the same line. So
And then let's see. So yeah, Keldon Johnson, 5.9 on FanDuel. Yeah, that's, I mean, it's coming in 9% there. So a little bit
yeah,
priced up.
that seems like the correct price. I'd argue it might be a little bit overpriced.
Yeah. I mean, he has upside tonight for sure, but
Yeah.
so with that, we'll go in and jump on into the centers. If you guys have any questions, make sure to get those in. We'd be happy to answer those here. But looking at the centers, so this is kind of our issue, I would say, on tonight's slate is that we got to figure out whether or not we should play two of the Toronto bigs. So we got Jakob Poeltl, Kelly Olynyk. What are your thoughts on that? Like, will they coexist together well tonight going against Charlotte?
I think they can, man. Like, I don't know. It's just such a good spot. I feel like even if these guys play together, like, I feel like they're going to be able to get what they want on the rebounds and putbacks. So I think I like them both, but you could pick one and fade the other. I think that's fine as well. What do you think about these two?
I'm fine playing both of them. The issue is kind of they are starting to get priced up right now. So I'm fine playing Kelly Olynyk at the power forward and going with Jakob Poeltl. But I guess the second tier of this question would be like, would we rather play like Grant Williams, Bertans, uh, one of those guys instead of maybe Kelly Olynyk, or can we just kind of play all four of them? I don't know. Is that uh interesting thought? Like, could we stack those four? Does that not correlate? I guess are the Charlotte bigs a little bit better than the Toronto bigs? I don't know. Those are the questions I'm asking myself right now.
Man, it's so tough. I mean, like, I feel like all these guys are reasonable plays. Again, I think I'm going to lean the Toronto guys just based off matchup. But I mean, Toronto isn't like great defensively as well. Like I think Grant
Yeah.
Williams can beat them from the 3 point line as well. So yeah, it's very tough to navigate. But I would lean the Toronto guys.
Mm-hmm. And naturally, the two of the cheaper kind of plays, Grant Williams and Kelly Olynyk, relative to how they're projected to play, are really chalk 50% owned. So in terms of
Yeah,
like maybe potential leverage, maybe Bertans, maybe Jakob Poeltl, but that feels maybe a little bit too cute as well.
yeah, I agree with that for sure.
So let's see here. Other than Wemby here, the other bigs that we are getting in terms of like really good plays, Chet Holmgren. We got the two Cleveland bigs. Already mentioned those two. You kind of mentioned you don't like Turner, and so this is kind of the issue: is that center is going to be highly concentrated in terms of ownership, and I really think that it should be. Is there anyone to you that maybe is coming in a little bit too low owned, or that you think is a good value?
Yeah, there's one guy down here I really wanted to play in tournaments at like no ownership is Wendell Carter, 5,400. I think this is the great spot for him against Detroit, and he's confirmed starting at the five. So I like Wendell a lot in tournaments. He was the main guy I was looking at.
That's fair. It is a good matchup going against Detroit. He has been someone recently that's been getting some more run. That's interesting. I don't mind that. I mean, it's a matchup based play, I would say, but
Mhm.
I don't mind that. That's not bad.
Yeah, it's just a matchup thing. He'd be like a if I landed on him last piece in, I'd be fine with it.
Yeah, I don't mind that. And then actually, while I'm looking at that, I could almost say the same for Mo Wagner as well. He's just a point per minute producer, been playing, about 20 minutes or so. That's what we have him projected for today. Like I could see that for that same reason.
Yeah.
Definitely interested in there. I don't know. I feel like it's much more concentrated today. Do
Yeah.
I do want to get your thoughts on the two New York bigs as well. With everyone still banged up, are they just too high priced now compared to how they're projected to play in this matchup against Cleveland because they're not getting any ownership at all right now?
Yeah, man, it's a very tough spot for both these guys, Chua and Hardenstein. I really don't see any need to get there. It's just a tough spot, and we really don't know the minutes with either one of them. So I'll probably stay away.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So yeah, if you guys have any more questions, get those in. I think we can just do a first look build here. It's kind of I don't know, in a weird way, it's kind of a straightforward slate. Like
Yeah,
yesterday's slate was a weird one because like it was a 3 game slate, but it
it
was
was.
much more difficult than like any recent slate I felt.
Yeah, that last slate, man, I've out of all the slates we've had this year, that was like my hardest slate I've had to navigate. So I agree with you.
Yeah. So yeah, looking at this one, I mean, looking at the chalk. So first look build purposes, this is the decision. So which chalk plays are we for sure playing? That's the biggest question.
I really like Olenek and Grant Williams. So I know they're chalky, but these guys are too cheap, I feel like, for their upside. So
All right.
let's plug those two.
I am fine with that. I will say I am a little bit worried that Olenek might not give us that ceiling game, but at the same time, I completely get it. I'm not saying
Yeah.
that's a bad play or anything like that. I want to go with Trey Man. I feel like Trey Man
Cool.
at that price tag in this matchup, that just feels really good.
Yeah.
Maybe a slight lack of upside, but I'm perfectly happy to eat that chalk right now. But I don't know. I could be talked out of that. Like we want to go with the other Charlotte guard there who's a little bit cheaper, probably just as much upside. We could do that as well. I'd be fine with that.
I like both those guys. I'm pretty much game for whoever you want. So
I guess the biggest question is, can we play both of them? I'm not saying we need to, but
mhm.
will those two coexist together tonight?
I usually would say no, but on this slate with no Cody Martin, and obviously no Lamelo,
Hmm.
I think we can play both these guys.
Okay.
Especially Mitchich has the shooting guard eligibility, so
Yeah.
that's pretty big in terms of for him. So
Right. Yeah, we'll go with Trey Man for now. Um, and then we'll talk about some of the other chalk that we have. So Brandon Miller feels like safe chalk. You got Miles Bridges also feels like safe chalk. Joachim Pertl there. Soul there also feels pretty good. I like Quickly as well. But like I do want to play maybe one or two of those other guys. I guess which two do you like the most? Is it Miller, Bridges, Pertl, Vassell, maybe Quickly? We got Bertans starting to get a little bit of ownership as well.
I love Bridges here. I'm gonna say Bridges. He's like the cover boy for the Discord sheet today. So I'm gonna say Bridges. I just think he's too cheap.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing heavy minutes, good matchup, gonna play some center minutes. Rebounds have been up recently already. I get it. That makes a lot of sense. So with that, if we're playing 3 Charlotte players, do we
Mhm.
want to try to run it back with like Quickly or Joachim Pertl or I mean, that's the issue. Like
Yeah.
obviously we want to get exposure to this game, but we don't want to go too crazy with it.
Yeah, I think, quickly Barrett or Pirtle, I think all these guys are solid. I feel like I'd lean one of Barrett or Pirtle, but
Okay.
it's close.
I would rather go Pirtle. So let's
Okay.
do that. Just a little bit cheaper than RJ Barrett, but
Yeah, I like that.
yeah. And then from there, we got some salary to pay up for. We could go Vessel, we could go Wemby. In terms of, we could go with Kevin Durant. I know you like him as well. In terms of pay ups. We got Halburn, SGA, Siakam, Brunson. I don't know. Like, where do you think we should go next?
Ooh, this is tough. I feel like Wemby is a safe spin up, but KD is also a good tournament play. So I'll let you choose on this one. I'm good with pretty much any of these low end spin ups.
So I like Wemby a lot.
Hmm.
Again, like I like Mobley, I think slightly more than both those two. And
Yeah,
but
let's
like
get it. I like.
you is that fine?
Yeah, let's get Mobile, especially if Mitchell sits. Like he's still too cheap. So
That's what I'm banking on there is
mhm.
Mitchell sit. And then with that, we do have a lot of salary left over for shooting guard and for guard that we can really make a lot of stuff work. Obviously, we have a lot of safe plays and discounted plays. So Vassal is popping up. You got quickly RJ Barrett, we already mentioned. Darius Garland, if Mitchell sits as well, it's going to look very appealing. Gary Trent becomes a decent play. Like Grady Dick's another value play. Like we do have a lot of kind of plays that we can really make any lineup path work today, especially with these guards here because the pricing's pretty spread out.
Yeah, man, it's tough. I feel like we have 12,100 remaining, so we
Mhm.
could go Vassal, we could go one of these cheap guards, could go Gritty Dick. Kind of up to you here. I feel like
Yeah.
we go kind of wherever we want here.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I kind of want to go Vassal, but like if we get news that Mitchell's out, like Garland probably becomes my favorite play.
Yeah,
Um, and
let's
we
go
should,
Garland. Let's
yeah,
go Garland. I like
just
that.
risk reward there. Obviously, we could
Mhm.
switch to Vassal there probably. It's the exact same game time, so we could do that. And then 5K left over. So kind of a weird pricing spot here because like Grady Dick, Miocic, they're both a little bit too low priced. And so that's where maybe we could go up from Garland. We could maybe go up from Mobley. So
Yeah. This is the good build up. I mean, there's lots of ways you can go with this. It's kind of
mhm. I actually
we have
like
the
this as
4 plays. Yeah.
I like this as a first look build because there's $700 left over. Obviously, we're kind of giving the example of what you could do on the site, and you can kind of make it work however someone else sees fit. Like if you like, let's say Bertans more than Grant Williams, go with
Mhm.
him, and then you have another pay up. You know, you have more salary, so I kind of like that.
Yeah, especially like with the Cleveland guys, you can pivot from like Mobley or Garland or whatever. So
Mhm.
yeah, I agree.
So let's see, we got some more questions coming in, so let's get those answered here. Again, guys, we have about 10 more minutes, so it is more of a straightforward slate tonight. But get those in. So we got who's starting for Booker. Um, it's obviously not confirmed yet, but I would imagine it's going to be Gordon as well. So I'm imagining starting Miranda, Beal, Gordon, Allen, Durant, Yusuf Nurk.
Yeah, I think that's right. If Gordon's in, which I think he is,
Yeah, yeah,
you should start.
and then Royce O'Neal still probably going to get 27 minutes for what it's worth.
Yeah, and then just quick piece of news: we did just get news that Malachi Branham is starting for Champagne, which
Okay.
I think that's another viable value play. I don't know his price, but
He was someone I think that might have been slightly popping up into the model a little bit already. Let me check here.
mhm.
Yeah, for value rating, it's pretty high for him.
Yeah,
Sorry for Branham there. So we have another value play. You know, so it's
as
pretty
many
good.
as you want.
Yeah, I mean, definitely enough on the slate. So like paying up for Wimby makes sense. I mean, which game would you rather stack? Is it Toronto and Charlotte? Probably, right? But the Spurs all feel a little bit too cheap.
Yeah, that Spurs game is a close second for me.
Yeah,
Both those games are definitely fun to stack up.
yeah.
It's
Uh,
weird. The total for the Charlotte game's, I believe, like 225, and the Spurs game's like 245. So kind of crazy
the
the
spread.
dis
Yeah.
yeah, the spread difference. Yeah.
All right, so we had a message or comment coming in from Brandon here. So yeah, we kind of mentioned this already, but don't have a problem recapping it. So yeah, Richards is out for Charlotte. So um, we don't saying like his replacement will probably be a mixture of Bertans, Grant Williams, and also Bridges. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know. Let's rank them in terms of value. Like which one's going to return the best point per minute value, and I have it sorted right now by that.
Yeah.
It does seem to be like a toss up already, but kind of what are your thoughts on just like, I guess priority wise, how would you rank those three?
Ooh, it's close for sure. I think I put Williams 1, Bridges 2, and then Who's the last guy? Where's he at?
Bertains.
Berton's 3. Yeah, Berton's 3. But it's
Yeah,
really close.
yeah, yeah, that's fair. So we got a question or comment from Unicorn Love here saying Olenek and Jakob Pertl in the same lineup on FanDuel. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting
Yeah.
thought. I mean, I think we both already said we're fine with that. I don't know. It's
Mhm.
not something that we're particularly targeting. We did kind of the first like build already as well. It's just like we kind of just naturally ended up on that. But I don't know, like, will that be a GPP winning combination? That's the question.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I'm not going out of my way to play both, but if you land on both, I think it's completely fine.
Yeah. So let's give this another refresh here just to see the ownership. It's crazy how much this always changes.
Yeah, it's constantly changing.
So yeah, it's about the same, but not too crazy. I mean, quickly not as high owned yet. Garland, again, I think we can assume that Mitchell's going to be out. I feel like that's a good leverage spot as well. I don't know. I get why Cleveland is not getting that much ownership given the matchup with New York. Obviously, we have better spots tonight. It's a low game total, but it's a close game. 5-point spread, so we don't really have to worry about blowout. Hopefully, I don't. I feel like that's the spot to gain some leverage. I don't know. What
Yeah.
about where are you at with that?
Yeah, I feel like all these guys, like the mid tier build should be like popular and also not popular because we have mid tier plays with the Charlotte game, but we also have great plays with the Cleveland game if Mitchell's out. So I love all these guys in tournaments if Mitchell sits. So I think there's definitely leverage, like you mentioned.
Yeah, and then yeah, again, if Garland or if Levert sits as
Mm-hmm.
well, like that just elevates all of them as plays.
100%. And we got news that pretty much didn't help us. He's Mitchell remains questionable per his coach.
Okay,
So
yeah, it's that's interesting. So it says like I got him saying that he's unlikely, but at the same time, you never know with this stuff. Like it's a Sunday too. I feel like I don't know. Have you
Mhm.
noticed this? Like on Sundays, like there's just I feel like players that are questionable maybe tend to play slightly more, but there's more players that like out of the blue will just randomly sit on a Sunday. I don't know. Have you noticed that or anything like with the weekend stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's just always weird on the weekends because, like, do you really think that players are going out Saturday night and partying? Like, probably not. But like, no one knows, man. Like James Harden would. So,
Yeah.
it's really tough to tell for me.
Dude, that is a concept that I've like never fully gotten. Even in like college, um, like guys would be going out. I played football for a year, but guys would be
Mhm.
going out on like Wednesday night and stuff like that. I'm like, dude, you got a game on Saturday. Like, that's crazy. Like, what do you so like it's a thing, but like I'm like, how? Like, I don't like it's the season. You can't take off 3 months. I get it for NBA though. Like it's a
Mhm.
long season. MLB makes sense as well, but it's kind of crazy that people do that.
1 second.
So yeah, sorry. That it's a
So,
concept that I've never fully grasped. Even like golfers as well. Like they'll have a couple of drinks after their round. I'm like, that's crazy.
yeah. I'm sorry. Talk.
No, you're good.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. The NBA players, like, they're so unpredictable. We also didn't get the tweet that said "let them know." I don't think we have, so that's usually a sign, man. If we don't get the tweet, he might be out. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see. So we got a question. Vassal tonight. Um, yeah, I think we're both there on him as a play. So like we'll go back over the guards because this is kind of the issue that we have. It's like we have so many good guard plays that we could recommend. So we got Barrett, we got quickly. We mentioned Garland feels like a good play. Trey Jones again. The two Charlotte players, and sandwiched in between that is Vassal, who does feel arguably too cheap given the minutes he's been getting and given the production he's been given. Um, it's just so tough to rank the guards in terms of like priority.
yeah, man, like, Fastball, great play, but, like, I feel like all these guys in their own, like, way are great plays. So
Yeah.
I feel like these Charlotte guys are getting the most ownership, but maybe they shouldn't. Maybe we should look to, like, these lower on guards that are just as good plays. So it's so tough, man.
And then to that point, like earlier on in the stream, like Bradley Beal, 6K or 6.7K pulling in 5% ownership, like that's kind of a head scratcher. I get it though, but like that seems like a good spot.
Yeah, no Booker too. Like, gotta imagine gets a bump there. So tons of great low spots as
Yeah.
well.
That's just the issue on tonight's slate. Again, like with with the Spurs, like Vassal's a great play, but now we got Trey Jones, we got Branham, who's a decent value play. His minutes went up by 2 as well. So we got a lot of spots.
Well, I think it's weird too because like typically if we don't have these Charlotte guys, I feel like Trey Jones is like 40% owned on most
You're
slates.
right.
So it's weird, right? Like he's only 13, coming off a 40 DraftKings points game. Like it's kind of crazy.
You're right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and especially in a good matchup as well. I mean, the 6 point spread, 243. Yeah, it's a fascinating slate. So honestly, this is probably going to be, and I don't like doing this. It's probably going to be my most like spread out kind of lineup process day in a while. Like it's not going to be as concentrated as it typically is, just because between the guards and forwards, I feel like there's so many combinations we could do. Center does feel more straightforward.
Yeah, man, this is like probably one of my favorite Sunday slate we've had all year. There's so many good, like
You're
as a
right.
tournament player, this is like an elite slate to play because there's so many good plays.
You're right though. Like the Sunday slates, one, they've been smaller, but they've kind of just been cookie cutter or
Hmm.
just like annoying. Like we didn't have the news. You're right. This is probably the best one we've had, maybe all year.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited for this one.
But I think that's gonna do it. We'll give a quick plug to the Discord chat. I'll let you do that. You're in it tonight, right?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, just hop in Discord after this, Occupy Fantasy / Discord. And then make sure to sign up for Occupy Fantasy. I believe it's only it's $7 a month for the model and Discord. So
Um,
something like, or
yeah,
is it
it's
five?
like $1 per day or something like that.
Yeah, so very, very cheap either way.
Yeah.
So make sure to sign up if you haven't already.
The breakdown to that is going to be in the description below. So a lot of you guys are already familiar with that. But yeah, be in the Discord chat here in just a second. I'm going to be hopping in there and letting you take on the slate changing news that comes in about 15 minutes. So,
Yep, and make sure if you guys have any other thoughts to throw them in there as well, or questions or whatever. So
all right, thanks everyone for being here. We'll be at the normal time tomorrow, obviously a little bit earlier today because the earlier slate.
yeah, good luck tonight, guys. Let's win some money.